Hello and welcome. Tonight, I won the presidential election and will prove it to Nigerians. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi declares, vows to explore all legal options to reclaim his mandate. It's a rape of democracy and grossly flawed process. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar describes Saturday's presidential election and says INEC failed to live up to expectation. APC National Chairman maintains that President-elect Bola Tinubu is the choice of the people, extends invitation to the other presidential candidates to join it and build a better country.
On business news tonight, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa says intra-African trade rose by 20% in the year 2022.
And on sports news tonight, 7-time under-20 African champions, the Flying Eagles, beat Uganda at the ongoing under-20 AFCON to qualify for the FIFA World Cup holding in Indonesia May this year.
From Abuja, more civil society organizations present their reports on last Saturday's elections, challenge INEC to provide clarity on the issues that led to the failure to transmit results from polling units electronically.
And in international news from London, tensions over Russia's war in Ukraine have dominated G20 talks in Delhi, even after India's Prime Minister urged foreign ministers to put aside their differences.
A Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi says he won Saturday's presidential election and is vowing to prove it to Nigerians. Mr. Obi, who was speaking for the first time since the poll, told a world press conference in Abuja that the process that led to the declaration of a president-elect was flawed and fell short of the minimum standard of conducting free and fair polls. The Labour Party presidential flag bearer, who maintained that the election did not meet the minimum standard for a free and fair election, called on his supporters to remain peaceful and take part in the governorship and state assembly elections on March the 11th.
It's almost a week after the presidential and national assembly elections in Nigeria. Although a winner has been announced for the election, several local and international observers have been given their assessment of the exercise. For the Labour Party candidate, Peter Obi, this is the first time he's making any comments on the election, and there's no confusion in his message.
We won the election, and we'll prove it to Nigerians.
He goes on to explain how he intends to achieve his plan.
This election, as you know, did not meet the minimum standard expected of a free, transparent, credible, fair election. It will go down as one of the most controversial elections ever conducted in Nigeria. During my campaign process, I would say that we will govern by the rule of law, because we know what not doing that will bring about. And that's why we insisted that. Let me reiterate. And I assure you that good people of Nigeria, that we will explore all legal and peaceful action to reclaim our mandates.
Mr. Obi says he's very proud of young persons for their steadfastness in taking part in the election, and says the election falls short of what a free and fair election should look like. He, however, says his commitment to a new Nigeria remains unshaken.
Dati Baba Ahmed and I remain absolutely undaunted and deeply committed to the project of a new Nigeria that will be built on honesty, transparency, fairness, justice, equity. All the above starts with the process. The process through which people come into office is far more fundamental, more important than what they do thereafter. It is my belief, and I've maintained so consistently, that if you must answer His Excellency, the process through which you arrive to office must be excellent.
As the nation prepares for the next round of elections on March 11th, Mr. Obi calls on his supporters to put the disappointment of the presidential election behind them and take active part in the governorship and state assembly elections, just as he would be doing.
please do not despair. We have elections coming up on the 11th. I enjoin you to go out, campaign, and bring our people to again come out and vote in that election. We still have so many massive support out there that we need for our subnational and state assemblies. Please come out and be part of that election. I assure you that I will be part of it.
Mr. Obi is also calling on his supporters, especially the youths, to remain peaceful and law-abiding and allow the laws of the land take its course.
Well, the Labour Party appears not to be alone in the bid to challenge the outcome of the presidential election, as the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has vowed to do the same. Also, in his first public statement after the election, Mr. Abubakar described Saturday's poll as a rape of democracy and which was grossly flawed. He says further that the election was the worst conducted in the country, maintaining that the 2023 presidential election presented the nation an opportunity for a reset, but that dream was shattered by INEC.
The 2023 presidential election presented our nation and its people the greatest opportunity for a reset. We had everything going for us: a legal framework in the 2022 Electoral Act and the BVAS technology. The enthusiasm of Nigerians to turn out and in large numbers was an added bonus. However, the dreams and aspirations of Nigerians who braved all the challenges to go and cast their votes on Saturday, 25th of February 2023, were shattered by the conduct of the Independent National Electoral Commission, which failed woefully to live up to expectations. The weekend election was neither free nor fair. Preliminary assessments indicate that it is the worst conducted election since the return to democratic rule. The manipulation and fraud that attended this election was unprecedented in the history of our nation. I can still not understand why the electoral umpire was in such a hurry to conclude collation and announcement of the results, given the number of complaints and irregularities of bypassing of the BVAS, failure of uploading to the IRV, and unprecedented cancellations and disfranchisement of millions of voters in breach of the Electoral Act and the Commission's own guidelines. It was indeed a rape of democracy. Having consulted with leaders of our party who are seated here with me and Nigerians from different walks of life, I have come to the conclusion that the processes and outcome of the presidential and National Assembly elections of last Saturday was grossly flawed in every material particular, and as such must be challenged by all of us.
Meanwhile, the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, maintains that President-elect Bola Tinubu is the choice of the people, saying the party is grateful to Nigerians for voting for its candidate. During the press conference in Abuja, the APC National Chairman, Abdullahi Adamu, congratulated the President-elect, adding that President Muhammadu Buhari's promise of free and fair elections was clearly demonstrated in the election outcome. He also extended invitation to the other presidential candidates to join hands with the APC to make the country better.
We have all run the good race. The victory has gone to one man, but the race was not run by him alone. He won because we stood by him He won because we as members of the party were committed to his victory and the victory of our party at all levels in the general election. He won because the electorates trust him and believe he has the capacity to heal the nation's wounds and set it along the path of unity and prosperity. The victory does not belong to the president-elect and his political party alone. It also belongs to that poor woman who, against all odds and the current financial problems, still sacrificed her time and her little financial resources to go to her polling unit to cast her vote because she wanted to have a say in who governs her and her country. I congratulate the candidates of our rival political parties. Together, we ran a good race. Their loss is not a rejection of what they stand for by the people. It is in the nature of competitions among political parties that out of the many that offer themselves to serve the people, only one is chosen at any given time. This time, we are lucky we have been chosen. We recognize the victors, but we do not recognize the vanquished. Our party extends its hands of patriotism to them. We enjoin them to join our party so that together we shall take up the same challenges for which they offered their services.
President-elect Senator Bola Tinubu has promised to hit the ground running from his first day in office in order to deliver on his campaign promises. Senator Tinubu stated this while playing host to the National Working Committee of the APC, led by its national chairman at his private residence in Abuja. He reiterates his commitment to run a fair and inclusive administration that will unite all Nigerians.
Very not to win leverage. And that's the side effect. That's the way. Law went through cash from and went through petrol shortages and long queue and that. It's enough to get people angry and sit at home. We are looking at the turnout and all of that. But despite all the obstacles and the hopes, we sailed through the wind. The end wind that was against us. And we arrived at this destination. I promise you, it's going to be a fair government, guided by the rule of law, justice, and fairness. It's going to be a hard work from day one, and we all together join hands to build a promise in Nigeria. The government of the people by the people and for the people.
In part two, after the break, U.S. government congratulates Nigeria on the conduct of the presidential election, as well as the president-elect Senator Bola Tinubu on his victory, urges INEC to fix the lapses observed during the poll. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. I won the presidential election and will prove it to Nigerians. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi declares, vows to explore all legal options to reclaim his mandate. It's a rape of democracy and grossly flawed process. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar describes Saturday's presidential poll. It says INEC failed to live up to expectation. APC National Chairman maintains that President-elect Bola Tinubu is the choice of the people, extends invitation to the other presidential candidates to join it and build a better country. And tensions over Russia's war in Ukraine dominated G20 talks in Delhi, even after India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged foreign ministers to put aside their divisions. More on the election outcome. This time, the presidential candidate of the Accord Party, Professor Christopher Imumole, is asking Nigerians to maintain calm. He also wants the president-elect, Senator Bola Tinubu, to run an inclusive government. While congratulating INEC and the president-elect, Professor Imumole also cautions against violence, asking that the interest of Nigeria should always come first. He was speaking at a press briefing in Lagos.
I would like to urge everyone, the opposition and even its most virulent critics, to sheath their sword, embrace reason and close rank where possible, to make the tenure of the country president-elect an eventful and successful one. I would like to state this for emphasis, that the interest of Nigeria should be considered far above any primordial sentiment when current dissatisfaction over the conduct of election is being ventilated. Let us distance ourselves from action capable of plunging our beloved country into needless chaos and anarchy, and vigorously fight to help it to grow to a level where we all can be proud to call ourselves Nigeria. For the president-elect, we call for magnanimity in victory. We align with his vision to empower the youth, give education it deserves pride of place in the scheme of things, as well as his plan to run an all-inclusive government.
For the Social Democratic Party, SDP, all the political parties and candidates who participated in Saturday's elections should be commended for showing proper decorum for the sake of national peace, despite what it describes as the obvious lapses on the part of INEC. The national chairman of the SDP, Mr. Shehu Gabam, made this remark at a news conference in Abuja, where he urged every aggrieved political party and candidate to seek legal redress. He also affirmed his party's leadership will be approaching the court to reclaim the mandate of his members who contested in the National Assembly polls.
Have admitted we in SDP, despite the shortfall, as I have mentioned, beavers problem, transmission problem, we stand by the declaration pending the outcome of the court judgment. And we are recommending to all those, including we in SDP, that disagreed to challenge it in the court of law. And in the larger interest of our country, we call on President-elect in his strategic consideration to take deliberate and practical steps in uniting the country, bringing the country together through a government of national unity to fix our obvious national crack. Opposition parties should work together, define a terms of reference of government of national unity. That would have given us the advantage to win this election without any dispute whatsoever.
Congratulatory messages are still coming from around the world for the president-elect, Senator Bola Tinubu, following his declaration as the winner of the presidential election. In a statement by the State Department, the U.S. government says the competitive election represents a new period for Nigerian politics and democracy. The statement adds, each of the top 3 candidates was the leading vote-getter in 12 states, a remarkable first in Nigeria's modern political era, reflecting the diversity of views that characterize the campaign and the wishes of Nigeria's voters. On the dissatisfaction expressed by the opposition parties and Nigerians over the conduct of the election, the U.S. urged political leaders to register their concerns through established legal mechanisms and refrain from violence, while appealing to INEC to fix the shortcomings of technical elements before the March 11th polls. On reports of attacks on members of the media during the elections, the U.S. government urged the government security forces, political actors, and all citizens to respect the media's critical role by refraining from any damaging acts against them and ensuring accountability for such acts when they do occur. Prominent Islamic cleric Ahmed Gumi is urging opposition political parties to follow legal means in addressing grievances regarding Saturday's presidential election. In his reaction in a Facebook post after the announcement of the presidential election result, Gumi also noted that there is a need to approach the court in order to show the younger generation that disputes can be resolved through legal means and not violence. He, however, maintains that the legitimacy of a government can only be achieved through transparent and credible election. In his words, without such a framework, the government will run as a purely political imposition by a few privileged cabals holding strategic instruments of power. He called on the aggrieved parties to approach the election tribunal and even up to the Supreme Court, saying the entire litigation process should run its course. Let's now head to the nation's capital of Abuja, where Linda Akigbe is standing by. Hello, Linda.
Hello, Ayotunde. Good to see you. So more civil society organizations are making known their observations in Saturday's elections and are asking INEC to urgently address the challenges recorded during the polls. Connected Development and the Center for Accountability and Inclusive Development made the demand separately at the presentation of their interim reports on the conduct of elections. Both organizations want INEC to provide clarity on the issues that led to the failure to transmit results from polling units electronically. Members of the Connected Development Election Monitoring Team visited different parts of the country to monitor the February 25 presidential and National Assembly elections. The deployment led to several findings, especially logistics for the exercise.
We observed late deployment of INEC staff and election materials, which led to the late opening of polls in 60% of the polling units we observed, which saw many polling units closed by exhausting the 6 hours of voting time, citing nightfall as an excuse. In many other polling units across the country, citizens' resilience saw voting concluded late into the night with no power supply or light bulbs, under very unsecured condition. For this purpose, many Nigerians were disenfranchised, and the most affected demography were persons with disability, pregnant women, and elderly people.
Ahead of the March 11 governorship and state houses of assembly election, the organization wants the Independent National Electoral Commission to do better.
The governorship and state assembly election is yet another opportunity for INEC to redeem her now battered image and end the trust and confidence of the electorate in our electoral process. INEC should ensure transparency of the result management and collation process and make certain that polling unit results are uploaded timely on the INEC result viewing portal, IREV, to stand a chance at redeeming her already battered public confidence.
The introduction of technology into the electoral process was considered a major step in ensuring that the exercise is credible and transparent. However, the failure of INEC to transmit results from polling units electronically in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act and the election guidelines raises concern among members of the Center for Accountability and Inclusive Development.
As of today, the IRF showed only 149,897 out of the expected 176,606 results has been loaded. The failure of INEC to convincingly communicate the cause of these glitches that led to this inability to upload results immediately after the election at the pre-use has further raised the suspicion of what? Stakeholders and citizens.
Like Connected Development, the Center for Accountability and Inclusive Development believes INEC has to restore its credibility by ensuring adherence to the guidelines for the election. With the presidential and National Assembly elections over, contestants in the governorship and state assembly elections on March the 11th are once again hitting the campaign trail. The People's Democratic Party in Akwa Ibom State has rounded off its local government campaign tour with the promise of a better future for the state. The campaign ended in Ona, the local government area where the state governor, Udom Emmanuel, hails from.
This is the grand finale of the People's Democratic Party's governorship campaign tour of local government areas in Akwa Ibom State, and it appears strategically planned to be rounded off in Ona, the governor's hometown. It is a carnival of some sort, and Governor Udom Emmanuel says he's satisfied that he has linked different parts of the state with a network of roads, among many other achievements.
I stand here today to say that as a governor, to the best of the resources that we've gotten, and to the best of my ability and capacity, I did not abandon any project of my predecessor. I inherited Tropicana. I looked at how I can derive economic value. I bought a building. Today, it's called the Market Square.
The PDP governorship candidate, Pastor Moino, urges the people to appreciate the governor for laying a solid foundation upon which he now stands.
As we wrap up this campaign today, you have a choice to make between selling your future and building on that future. We have seen them all. We have seen a government of peace, and we have seen a government of war. It is now our choice. God has placed before us. But I stand here to say, like Joshua said, as for me and my house and the PDP family, we will serve the Lord.
The youth in the area are also well represented.
We have realized that the best way for us, the youth, to realize our potentials in life is for us to vote in a man that has vision, a man that thinks about the youth, a man that is passionate about youth development, youth entrepreneurial development, and that is Pastor Omoino. The mammoth crowd that you have seen here about the youth, they are all here because we believe in the vision and prospect of Pastor Omoino.
With the campaigns in the local government completed, the People's Democratic Party in Akwa Ibom State appear ready for the March 11 polls.
In Ogun State, the African Democratic Congress is promising that its administration will ensure proper welfare for all categories of people and bring about development in all areas in the state. The ADC governorship candidate, Barrister Olubiyi Otegbeye, gave this assurance while addressing a crowd of supporters at a campaign rally in the Ijebu East local government area of the state.
After a week-long break for the presidential and National Assembly elections, the ADC governorship candidate in Ogun State, Mr. Olubiyi Otegbeye, and his team hit the road once again, touring the 20 local government areas of the state. This time, the campaign team is visiting Ijebu East, one of the 9 local government areas in Ogun East Senatorial District, which shares boundaries with Ondo State. The people here roll out the drums for the ADC candidate, whom they believe will create a positive impact across the various communities within the local government.
We have 9 local governments in this our Ogun East. So we have already campaigned, even in markets, in everywhere. So people, women said they want them, they want Awonuga and Otegbeye for the governor.
I believe and I know that we have about 85% chances to win Ijebu East. I'm very comfortable and I'm very confident that we are going to win with 85% because the masses are with us. We are tired of this Sahari government. We are tired of this ABC government. Look at what is happening everywhere. We are not comfortable anymore. And our people have made up their mind that they are going with ADC. Most of my people, they are farmers. And what the present administration is doing to them, they are not comfortable with it. They are tired of this present government. And come March 11, by God's grace, we are going to show them that the masses are with us. Amen. And they are going to vote for us, and we are going to win the election, by God's grace.
Addressing the people, Mr. Otegbeye says he will not let them down, promising that if elected, his administration will bring on programs and projects that will be of immense benefit to the people.
ADC as a party, we have programs for youth, we have programs for women, and we have programs for infrastructural development. Ijebu East will be developed. In the last 3.5 years, they have not seen the hand of government in their lifetime. They want government to help them, and government has not lived up to the expectation. We are going to take care of all of them.
After a nail-biting presidential poll, candidates in the upcoming governorship elections continue to woo voters ahead of the March 11 contest, hoping to win them over in what's expected to be hotly contested governorship seats.
Meanwhile, the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, Lagos State Chapter, has thrown its weight behind Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's second-term bid. The state chairman of PFN, Apostle Eyinaya Okwonu, who is speaking during a press conference in Ikeja, says Governor Sanwo-Olu has touched the lives of residents, irrespective of tribe and religion.
Continuity is one of the things that make life to be interesting. And so we felt that the man who is there now, Mr. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is a good man. Yes. He's doing his very best, not only for Christians, but for all faiths. Yes. You know, he's a governor who has the masses in his heart. He's experienced. He has shown expertise and professionalism in what he's doing. He's a man who you can see that this man has a plan for this country and for this state especially. That's why we say we shouldn't let you be confused. Don't be confused. We are not saying others who are contending for the office are not qualified. They are very qualified. But for us, this is our brother. We want to see him. One of the first times that a Christian in Lagos State should continue to complete his 2 terms. We shouldn't truncate it. That's all right.
The police command in Kano State says it has arrested a member-elect of the House of Representatives on the platform of a New Nigeria People's Party, Mr. Liyu Madaki, for alleged unlawful possession of firearms. This is according to the police public relations officer of the command, Abdullahi Kiyawa, who stated that the lawmaker who will be representing Dala Federal Constituency is currently under investigation and will be charged to court. The arrest of Madaki has sparked concerns and reactions from various quarters in Kano. Mr. Madaki's detention by the police comes days after the recent arrest of the majority leader of the House of Representatives, Ado Doguwa, over allegation of murder. And that's all from Abuja. Now to you, Ayotunde.
Many thanks, Linda. And now to company news, where CIG Motors Company Limited has entered into a partnership with Filmhouse Limited to promote the growth of Nigeria's creative industry. According to the General Manager, Commercial of CIG Motors, Jibril Arogundade, CIG Motors wants to do more than just investing in the industry by promoting and exposing Nigerian content to international audiences.
It's a room full of celebrities at the GAC Motors showroom in Victoria Island in Lagos. Their coming together is to witness the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between CIG Motors Company Limited and Filmhouse Limited, a partnership to promote Nigeria's creative industry and showcase Nigeria's content to the world.
We are looking forward for more intervention where we can definitely come back to the society, come back to the country to do something about the development. As far as the international relationship are concerned, not only China, even Bollywood can also be tapped in.
We are looking forward to a collaboration between ourselves and Filmhouse to be able to help the creative industry. See how we can, extend our hands to the creative industry, the producers and the actors that are doing an amazing job, and help them in the process of creating this content that represents the true narrative and stories of Nigeria.
A representative of Filmhouse Cinemas says they are excited about the partnership.
you stand for quality products. You know, it's one of your values, bringing quality products to Nigeria. And we stand for the same thing. So that was very important to us. We're very happy and excited about the partnership. We can't wait to explore, you know, the different things that you've mentioned. We're very committed to helping you achieve your goals as well. And we look forward to, you know, the brilliant work that we're going to do together.
It's a partnership that is going to propel our industry furthermore to the world, as well as into more homes within the country. I mean, the enablement, the empowerment of youths, people that are aspiring to make movies. There are a lot of shortcomings that are coming to this part. Sometimes we think of how we're going to transport ourselves, places to shoot, funds. But with this partnership, I mean, we'll have the opportunity to have most of these things at close to no prices at all, not to mention the international leverage.
CIG Motors is an authorized distributor of GAC vehicles in Nigeria, and by entering into a partnership with Filmhouse Limited, their desire is to contribute to the development of Nigeria's creative industry and showcase Nollywood on a global scale.
One of Nigeria's pharmaceutical companies, Green Life Pharmaceuticals Limited, today organized a brand awareness symposium in pursuit of improved therapy. The healthcare delivery company is specially known for its brand P-Alexin, which is used for the treatment of malaria, and the event focuses on enlightening customers on the product.
In a bid to dispel certain rumors about its products, Green Life Pharmaceuticals Limited, makers of P-Alexin, holds a symposium on the treatment of malaria. The symposium, titled Brand Awareness for Improved Therapy, centers on providing expansive knowledge about malaria, which contributes significantly to the total disease morbidity and mortality rates in the country.
Malaria is a global burden. It's responsible for significant morbidity and mortality in areas where it's endemic, like Nigeria. About half of the world is at risk of having malaria. In 2020 alone, we said that we had over 241 million people contacted malaria in 85 countries. And then of this, we had over 620 deaths.
We are actually, at this stage, experiencing a major attack on one of the brands that has actually contributed so much to the fight against malaria, and that is P-Alexin. I did mention that P-Alexin is a very unique combination.
If you take P-Alexin, according to the recommendation of WHO, according to the weight categorization, there is no cardiovascular toxicity, there is no neurological toxicity, and there is no metabolic side effects.
P-Alexin is an artemisinin-based combination therapy used for the treatment of serious malaria.
We need to ensure that the drugs we are prescribing for them.
Presentations and panel discussions with health experts are aimed at enlightening the attendees about the brand for better treatment.
Part of the objectives of this exercise is to enlighten people more about the brand, to have better knowledge of the brand for improved treatment, for improved treatment outcome and therapy generally.
As a brand, P-Alexin, that has been in Nigeria for close to a decade, we believe that such symposium is something that will help to dispel the disinformation regarding the brand. And this is what we have called for over the years, that companies should do from time to time.
Green Life Pharmaceuticals Limited has over time introduced some pharmaceutical products of various therapeutic segments, many of which have become brand leaders in the Nigerian pharmaceutical market.
Business News is up next with Anne Waldo.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Hello and welcome to Business News. The United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, says that trade between countries in Africa has increased by 20% in the year 2022. The acting executive secretary of UNECA, Antonio Pedro, made this known at the 9th session of the Africa Regional Forum on Sustainable Development in Niger Republic, while speaking on the success of the African Continental Free Trade Area. According to him, while the level of trade has risen, it is still below the 52% target the Commission had forecast in the year 2018. He also adds that in order to bridge the trade distance between the continents, more awareness is needed regarding the list of products that can be traded without barriers or levies. Let's talk about Nigeria's headline purchase in the managers index. It contracted sharply in the month of February to 44.7, coming from 53.5 recorded in January, ending a 31-month sequence of expansion. According to data, cash shortages across the economy had a severe impact on the private sector in the middle of the first quarter. The most severe impacts of cash shortages were seen in the significant drop in output and new orders, as customers were often not able to secure the funds to make a purchase. This then led to companies reducing their purchasing activity and employment. The decline in new orders is the first since June 2020, and the survey also shows that companies were also impacted by shortages of fuel, which added to the price pressure and led to supplier delivery delays. In turn, shortages led to a rise in fuel costs, further increase in purchasing prices, and higher raw material costs and currency weakness were also factors pushing up the purchase prices. The rate of inflation was the softest since June 2020, but it was higher. Staff costs also rose again in the month of February, but at a modest pace. The passing on of higher input costs to customers resulted in a further sharp rise in output prices. Businesses remain hopeful that economic conditions will improve alongside expansion and investment plans, and this sentiment has led to confidence in the year ahead. Outlook for business activity sentiment was at a 5-month high, but still relatively muted. Following the declaration of the All Progressives Congress Party's candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president-elect by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) on Wednesday, some expectations are now beginning to appear for his administration. The Chief Executive Officer of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, Muda Yusuf, who was a guest on our Business Morning program earlier today, highlighted some of the tasks ahead for the incoming government.
For the president-elect, first of all, by now, I expect him to have been assembling a transition team on the economy so that engagement can quickly begin. And it is very important to stress the importance of quality economic governance, because you realize from statistics which are very disturbing. But if we had had quality economic governance, yes, there may be challenges, but the challenges will not be as bad as that. And that starts from building a very good economic team. That is very important, to ensure that we have a level playing field, to ensure that we move this economy from a patronage economy or a rent-seeking economy to an economy that actually encourages and incentivizes entrepreneurship.
Let's head to the equities market now. We made a rebound in today's trading session. Will Ibong has the details. Welcome to the stock market report. Yes, the bull did take a quick pause yesterday, but is back, riding on a 0.29% uptick in today's trading session. And sure, we can attribute yesterday's pullback to profit-taking by investors. And we have Airtel Africa to thank for this. It appears the market giant is making amends after dragging the market down yesterday. The stock added 13 naira 70 kobo to his share price to close at 1,548 naira 70 kobo. That's more money in your stock wallet. We also had power company Gerigu, PZ Cousins, and Dangote Sugar contributing to the market's bullish performance. Speaking of which, Dangote Sugar made it to the top 3 on the gainers chart board after Sunu Assurance. And we can also see this influence of Dangote Sugar on the consumer goods index as it rose 0.58% today. However, despite the positive performance, equities traded with negative sentiments in terms of market breadth, as we had 25 losers to 17 gainers. It's the last trading session for the week tomorrow. Let's see if we have a better outing. And that's the stock market report. I'm Will Ibong. It's back to you. Thanks for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Nwawado. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Ayot Sunday.
Thank you so much, Anne. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has asked his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov to end the war of aggression against Ukraine. This comes as Mr. Blinken met with Lavrov briefly today on the sidelines of the G20 summit in India's capital Delhi for the first time since Russia's full-scale invasion on Ukraine more than a year ago. Here's Simon Pusey on this and other international stories in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Tensions over Russia's war in Ukraine have dominated G20 talks in Delhi, even after India's Prime Minister urged foreign ministers to put aside their divisions.
Governments that commit atrocities abroad are also likely to violate the rights of people at home. And that's exactly what Russia is doing.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the meeting was marred by Russia's unprovoked and unjustified war. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused the West of burying a deal to allow some Ukrainian grain exports.
A very good morning to all of you, Excellencies, dear colleagues.
The G20, which includes the world's 19 wealthiest nations, plus the European Union, accounts for 85% of global economic output and 2/3 of its population. Earlier, Narendra Modi spoke for developing nations, saying those present had a responsibility to them.
You are meeting at a time of deep global divisions. As Foreign Minister, it is but natural that your discussions are affected by the geopolitical tensions of the day. We all have our positions and our perspectives on how this tension should be resolved. However, as the leading economies of the world, we also have a responsibility toward those who are not in this room.
Protests have erupted in Greece over the rail crash which killed 43 people, with many seeing it as an accident that had been waiting to happen. Rioters clashed with police outside the headquarters of Hellenic Train in Athens, the company responsible for maintaining Greece's railways. Protests were also held in Thessaloniki and the city of Larissa, near where the disaster happened. Rail workers across Greece have begun a one-day strike after Tuesday's crash to protest against conditions on the railways. It's after a passenger service crashed head-on into a freight train, causing the front carriages to burst into flames. The government has said an independent investigation will deliver justice, while rescue workers continue to go through burned and buckled carriages, searching for victims. More than half of Argentina has been left without power after a fire affected the national electricity grid. The capital, Buenos Aires, other major cities and large swathes of the countryside are wholly or partly affected. The fire reportedly started in open fields, affecting crucial power lines in the coastal zone and putting a nuclear power station offline. The blackout comes in the middle of a heat wave and drought in the country. At least 14 people have died, 7 in Madagascar and 7 in Mozambique following a tropical cyclone. According to the latest UN situation reports, the number of people affected by Cyclone Freddy has also risen to 383,000. Flooding is unlikely in southeastern Zimbabwe as Cyclone Freddy did not extend as far inland as previously forecast. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has defended his government's decision to terminate the operations of the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights in the country. He was responding to a journalist questioning Uganda's decision to close operations. Museveni says it is because Uganda has their own Human Rights Commission, which is mandated by the Constitution. On the 3rd of February, Uganda's Foreign Ministry announced that the government would not renew the mandate of the OCHCR, which was set to expire at the end of March. And environmental campaigner Greta Thunberg has joined a demonstration in support of indigenous rights in Oslo for a 4th day. She danced with other protesters to keep warm in the cold morning temperatures. They're demanding the removal of 151 wind turbines from reindeer pastures used by Sami herders in central Norway, arguing that a transition to green energy should not come at the expense of indigenous rights. It comes a day after she was lifted and carried away by police officers from the Finance Ministry before she was released. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Now, 7-time African champions, the Flying Eagles of Nigeria, have qualified for the FIFA Under-20 World Cup holding in Indonesia in the month of May 2023. The national Under-20 team this evening beat Uganda by a lone goal at the Suez Canal Authority Stadium in Egypt at the ongoing Under-20 AFCON to pick one of the 4 tickets for Africa. An own goal from Uganda's Ibrahim Juma was all Nigeria needed to advance to the semi-final of the tournament in Egypt. It will be the Flying Eagles' 13th appearance at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup finals, with this year's tournament holding on May the 20th to June the 11th. Earlier, Senegal beat Benin Republic 1-0 to qualify for the semi-finals and also seal their place at the Under-20 World Cup. In basketball, 2-time NBA Most Valuable Player Giannis Antetokounmpo and all-time leading scorer for the NHL's Nashville Predators, Philip Forsberg, have acquired a stake in Nashville Soccer Club. Greek Antetokounmpo and Swede Forsberg join an ownership group that also includes actress Reese Witherspoon and Tennessee Titans running back Derrick Henry. The Antetokounmpo ownership share is a family affair with his brothers Thanasis, Costas and Alex, who also play professional basketball. In their 4th season, Nashville opened the 2023 campaign last Saturday with a 2-0 win over New York City Football Club. And that's a wrap on Sports News. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. It's back to Ayotunde with the wrap of the news at 10. Many thanks, Victor. And the main news again. The Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, today declared that he won the 2023 presidential election and vowed to explore all legal options to reclaim his mandate and prove his case to Nigerians. We also told you that the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, described last Saturday's presidential poll as a rape of democracy and a grossly flawed process. He said INEC failed to live up to the expectations of Nigerians. And that's the news at 10. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. And from all of us here, it's good night and stay safe.